Mr. Guy. Today my group will be presenting the topic that we got, which is nature. The first presenter will be me, the initial me. My magic number is F1016. Then the second presenter will be Takifa Afika, F1004. The third presenter will be Auni Akila, F1010. And the last presenter will be Nurina Azmina, F1008. So next, introduction. The interplay between human activities and wildlife conservation has led to growing concerns about species extinction and conflicts. Analyzing the causes of human-wildlife conflict reveals that habitat encroachment and agriculture expansion are the most significant contributors, reflecting the pressure of human development on natural ecosystems. To mitigate this challenge, strategies such as wildlife corridors and community-based conservation have proven to be highly impactful. This study underscores the urgent need for balanced approach to minimize conflicts and ensure the coexistence of humans and wildlife. Okay, so next we go to the graph. This bar graph shows the causes of human-wildlife conflicts. The green bar, habitat encroachment, is significantly higher than all the others bar, standing at 40%. The blue bar, agricultural expansion, is fractionally higher than the yellow bar, urban development, with 25% compared to 15%. And the red bar, poaching, is slightly lower than the yellow bar at 10%. And finally, the purple bar, infrastructure development, is the smallest, just below 10%. So we move to another graph. So this bar graph shows the effectiveness of strategies to prevent species extinction. The green bar, wildlife corridors, is the highest at 50%, indicating it's the most effective strategy. The blue bar, community-based conservation, is slightly lower at 40%, followed by the yellow bar, government legislation, at 35%, and the red bar, technology solution, is fractionally lower than the yellow bar at 30%. Lastly, the purple bar, education and awareness, is the smallest one at 20%, showing it is the least effective among the strategies. So for the conclusion, the data highlights that habitat encroachment and agricultural expansion are the leading causes of human-wildlife conflicts, emphasizing the significant impact of human activities on wildlife habitats. Effective strategies such as implementing wildlife corridors and community-based conservation demonstrate the potential to reduce conflict incidents and protect endangered species. Addressing these challenges requires prioritizing sustainable solutions and fostering awareness to ensure a harmonious balance between human development and wildlife preservation.
So the next introduction is wildlife plays a crucial role in maintaining ecological balance, yet it faces significant threats globally. Wildlife extinction, driven by factors such as habitat loss, climate change, and poaching, disrupts ecosystems and diminishes biodiversity. On the other hand, certain wildlife species can pose threats to humans, causing fatalities due to defensive behaviors or human-wildlife conflicts. Understanding these issues is essential to foster ecoexistence and preserve both human and wildlife well-being. So this is the explanation of the first bar graph, which titled Causes of Wildlife Extinction. Habitat loss stands out as the leading cause of wildlife extinction, contributing a great deal higher, which is 40%, compared to other factors. This is significantly higher than the impact of climate change, which accounts for 25%. Climate change, although considerably lower than habitat loss, still has a dramatic effect on ecosystems through rising temperatures and erratic weather patterns. Overhunting and poaching at 15% are somewhat lower than climate change, but still play a considerable role in threatening species like rhinos and elephants. Pollution and invasive species both contribute slightly lower at 10% each, making their impact marginally less significant compared to the leading causes. However, their combined effects cannot be ignored in the broader extinction crisis. The second one is the explanation of the second bar graph, which is wildlife causing human deaths. Mosquitoes are by far the deadliest creatures to humans, causing a dramatically higher number of deaths, which is around 1 million annually, due to diseases like malaria and dengue. Snake bites, while a great deal lower than mosquito-related fatalities, still cause approximately 100,000 deaths yearly, particularly in rural areas with limited medical access. Crocodiles, responsible for about 1,000 deaths annually, are considerably lower than snakes, but remain the most dangerous large animal, often attacking humans in rivers and lakes. Hippos account for approximately 500 deaths annually, which is somewhat lower than crocodiles, but their aggressive and territorial behavior makes them a significant threat. Big cats, such as tigers and lions, cause about 100 deaths yearly, a fractionally lower figure than hippos, often during human-wildlife conflicts. Bears and wolves, at only 20 fatalities annually, have a marginally lower impact than and are the least deadly among the wildlife listed. So, the conclusion is addressing wildlife extinction requires collective efforts in conservation, sustainable practices, and legal protections to safeguard biodiversity. Similarly, minimizing human-wildlife conflicts through education, habitat management, and safety measures can reduce fatalities caused by dangerous wildlife. By balancing conservation and safety, we can create a sustainable environment for both humans and wildlife to thrive.
Hi, my name is Aunia Akila. Today I will explain about domestic animal killed by wild predator and number left in wild. For introduction, domestic animals are often targeted by wild predator, leading to significant losses for farmers. At the same time, many wild predator species, such as wolf and big cats, face declining population due to habitat loss and human conflict. Balancing the protection of livestock and the conservation of this predator is critical for maintaining biodiversity and ensuring sustainable coexistence. Next is a pie chart about domestic animal killed by wild predator. The chart illustrates the percentage of domestic animal killed by various wild predators in the African Wildlife Foundation Samburu Heartland, Kenya, based on reported deaths. Among the predators, lion and leopard are the most significant contributor, each accounting for 35% of the reported kills. This makes them responsible for a considerably higher proportion of deaths compared to the other predators. Hyenas are the next major cause of domestic animal death, contributing 80%, which is somewhat lower than the proportion caused by lion and leopard. Baboon account for 4% of the deaths, a share that is noticeably lower than that of hyenas. Elephants are responsible for 3% of the killings, which is slightly lower than the proportion attributed to baboons. Buffalo and wild dogs each account for 2% of the deaths, representing an even smaller share compared to elephant. Finally, cheetah are associated with only 1% of the reported kills, making their contribution significantly lower than all other predators mentioned in the chart. This data highlight the varying level of impact different predators have on domestic animal population in the Samburu heartland. Next, I will explain the number left in wild graph according to the type of animal. The bar chart compared the number of some of the most popularly listed threatened species in the wild with 3 Rothschild giraffe. The African elephant population with 650,000 individuals is considerably higher than the Rothschild giraffe, which has only 670 left in the wild. Similarly, the African lion with 20,000 individuals is substantially higher in population compared to the Rothschild giraffe. The rhino population show a range. A white rhino at 70,460 is substantially higher, while the black rhino with 5,000 is fractionally higher than some of the species near the lower end of the spectrum. The higher population with 3,890 individuals is marginally lower than the black rhino, but substantially higher compared to the Rothschild giraffe. Giant panda at 1,864 and mountain gorilla with 1,000 individuals are both substantially lower than the African lion, but considerably higher than the Rothschild giraffe. Overall, the Rothschild giraffe has the lowest population, indicating a critical need for conservation effort compared to these other species. So, for the conclusion, the predation of domestic animal by wild predator pose challenge for both farmer and wildlife conservation. While predator population are declining, managing human-wildlife conflict is essential to protect both livestock and species at risk. Effective solutions require balancing the needs of communities and wildlife to ensure a sustainable and harmonious coexistence.
Okay, next we go to the next graph. Okay, before that we go to interaction first. The two graphs depicts the state of nature and wildlife, focusing on percentage of forest cover, wildlife population, protected areas and endangered species, alongside trends in wildlife populations over time 2000 to 2025. Together, they highlight conservation progress and challenges. Okay, next, first graph. The horizontal bar graph above illustrates statistics related to various aspects of nature and wildlife. Okay. For forest cover, the forest cover stands at a significant 70%, showing that these areas have been preserved to a great deal compared to other categories. This indicates strong conservation effort for forested regions. For wildlife populations are drastically lower at 40% compared to forest cover. This dramatic decline underscores the challenges wildlife faces, such as habitat destruction and environmental degradation. Okay, next, protected areas with 50% of regions designated as protected. This figure is slightly higher than the wildlife population. These protected areas play a significant role in conservation, but their impact is limited by other environmental factors. And last, endangered species. Endangered species represent a marginally lower percentage at 25%. This figure shows that while some efforts have been made, a great deal more is required to address the threat to species at risk of extinction. Okay, next graph. The line graph illustrates the change in wildlife population percentage over time from 2000 to 2025. Okay, look at the graph. In the year 2000, wildlife population were relatively high at 80%. However, there was a slight decline by 2005, decreasing marginally to 75%. Okay, between 2005 and 2010, the population dropped dramatically, falling to 60%. This signifies a drastic decline, likely due to environmental factors or increased threats to habitats. Okay, next. A notable crash occurred between 2010 and 2015 as the population plugged further to 50%. From 2015 to 2020, the downward trend continued significantly, with wildlife numbers decreasing to 40%. And last, by 2025, the population dipped fractionally lower, reaching 35%, suggesting the decline might be starting to stabilize. Conclusion. While forest cover and protected areas show significant progress, wildlife populations and endangered species have drastically declined, as shown in both graphs. The downward trend in wildlife population emphasizes the need for urgent and sustained conservation efforts to prevent further biodiversity loss.